You have tuned into the BearDown Corner with your host, Sergeant Holio. Hey everybody, this is the BearDown Corner. I'm your host, Sergeant Holio. Let's get you caught up on Week 6 action. Now, to follow up from last Monday, because we did not get the Monday Nighter, so a quick little recap of that. Kansas City went into Jacksonville where they gave it their all. Patrick Mahomes had some nice stats, but it wasn't enough to overcome the Jacksonville Jaguars as Trevor Lawrence led his team down the field with key critical catches by his wide receiver Brian Thomas Jr., got themselves all the way to the goal line, and literally on what looked like he fumbled the ball on the ground, he picked the thing back up, looked like a deer in headlights, and then ran like a gazelle as he shoved it into the end zone after bumping around on his wide receiver. They walk away with a 31-28 win. Trevor Lawrence with 2 rushing touchdowns, a passing touchdown, and 221 yards in the air in that game. Now, on to the Thursday Nighter. Philly goes into the New York Giants where they tumbled. The defending Super Bowl champions got smoked by the New York Giants. Cam Scatterbo in this game had 98 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. Jackson Dart went 17-25 for almost 200 passing yards. He had 1 passing touchdown to Wan'Dale Robinson on a screen that went the distance, and then he had a rushing touchdown of his own. So they handled business 34-17. I don't know what to think of this team at this point. Brian DeBole's just got to be licking his chops like these 2 rookies are going to help me keep my job at this point. Because that's the only thing, that's the only main benefit coming out of this. Because they're staying competitive and they just beat the Philadelphia Eagles who need, I know it's a division game, but now this team really has to look in the mirror. Because that's 2 losses in a row now after starting 4-0. All right. And they do not look like the same team, whether it is some injuries or just the predictability. In fact, their offensive tackle came out after that game and basically said, teams are realizing we're predictable at this point. At one point, they went for that tush push 4 consecutive times. You know what? At this point, just get rid of the goddamn play. I hope every team figures it out to the point that they just shove it down their throat. Because after that, you're asking Jalen Hurts to throw the fucking ball. And I honestly don't see him being able to properly do that if they're not getting the rushing production. They have not offensively been what people thought they were going to be. But you know what? New year, right? So they obviously got some things to figure out there in Philly. In the morning game of Sunday that was played in London, we had the Denver Broncos going to play the New York Jets. And man, I tell you, this game was so good defensively that I have the punters listed as the 2 main guys when it comes to the statistics. Offensively, the Broncos did just enough to walk away with a 13-11 win. But man, both punters, Denver's punter Crawshaw had 6 punts in that game, right? For over close to 300 yards total. He had 1 inside the 20, 1 touchback. So, pretty decent game for him. McNamara from the New York Jets had 7 punts. And I believe when I seen his stat, it was about almost close to 400 yards total that guy punted that day. So kudos to the punters on field position and letting your defenses control the entire game. Moving along, you had the Arizona Cardinals going into Indianapolis where Danny Dimes just keeps doing what he's doing, man. This son of a bitch is just taking this team and he has claimed it as his own. This is Danny Dimes' team. All right, Daniel Jones is an Indianapolis Colt, and I really hope that they can realize that they don't have anything at this point. Unless you're going to draft a guy next year, I think you re-sign Danny Dimes. You do. The man, Daniel Jones, went 22 of 30 for 212 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, and 1 rushing. Let's not forget to mention Jonathan Taylor, who has been having a phenomenal year after the improved quarterback play. He went for 123 yards and a rushing touchdown on Sunday. Not to mention he had 4 receptions on key critical, third down conversions and whatnot. This team is rolling with all the right momentum. I am very interested to see where they come out in the next few months, because they have only had 1 loss and they are now 5-1, atop of the AFC with any other team that's fighting up there. Like they could be a real surprise dark horse to, make some noise in the playoffs at this point. I'm going to say it early. I don't see this production falling off. The offensive line is playing at a very good rate of keeping Daniel Jones upright and protected. The run game is at an all-time high. The defense is riding it at times where they can make the turnovers. They can get the stops when needed. This Colts team was literally missing a quarterback. And now we see the difference between Anthony Richardson, who, by the way, is now out for goodness knows whatever amount of games. He took an eye injury in pre-warm-ups doing some stupid, game, him and another wide receiver play. He took a freaking knee to the eye. He's out. So, you know what? At this point, see what you can get for him on the trade block. Saying, Indy, don't let this one run away, because you know what, sometimes it just takes a new beginning in a new place for these quarterbacks to find their home, because obviously New York was not the answer for him. But now you see what's going on though with the new quarterback and the running back there though too. So it's was it just not a fit made? Was his expectations just asked too much? I don't know. Either way, both teams are having some success now, so congratulations. Los Angeles Rams go into Baltimore, where they not wallop. It was a close game, but the Ravens, we are now seeing, without Lamar Jackson, what happens when your backup cannot produce that offense. They went through both quarterbacks today. They pulled Connor Rush out of the game, put in Brett Huntley. I'm pretty sure Huntley would be the better choice anyway. He's more suited for that offense. He's similar to Lamar. So I don't know where they go from here. I really don't. Kyron Williams had 50 yards on the ground, 23 receiving on 2 receptions and 1 rushing touchdown today. The game was very meticulous in the amount of movement both defenses were letting on the field. So the Rams are looking good. They might be without Nakua, though. He came down with Humphreys in the end zone, and he has a sprained ankle right now. He's listed day to day. So, took a little bit of bumps and injuries, but they're good at wide receiver, though, that team. That team is built on depth right now at wide receiver. So I'm not too worried about the Los Angeles Rams. Cleveland goes into Pittsburgh, where they lose 9-23. The Steelers were able to get enough offense on that Browns defense that is just ridiculous this year, and they held Cleveland within check. Aaron Rodgers, hero of the day, 21 of 30, 235 and 2 passing touchdown, minimal gains on the ground, and just, like I say, enough offense to score up 23 on a really good Browns defense. But either way, they still come away. Pittsburgh, how about them? Hey, let's talk a little Pittsburgh. They are, I think, in the right setting right now. Aaron Rodgers is exactly what you needed, because obviously Russ proved that he's just Russ of yesterday, right? But how about Aaron Rodgers coming in and playing at just enough of a level that he's helping this team win games? If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure that's their 5th. Are they 5-1? I'm pretty sure now. Either way, they're controlling the AFC North. Like, Cincinnati can't do shit. You know what? Screw it. Let's talk about them next. We have them, where's my notes here? Where's my Green Bay one? I got you guys. We are... Yeah, Green Bay and Cincinnati, just because we're talking the AFC North. Cincinnati went into Green Bay where they lost 26 to 18. They were dominated on the ground mainly by Josh Jacobs and enough of an aerial assault by Matthew Golden and Jordan Love that they walked away with the win today. But otherwise, like, their second leading receiver was Josh Jacobs with 5 on 57 yards. And I just don't know what the hell Cincinnati can do at this point. They traded for Joe Burrow earlier in the week from Cleveland. Cleveland traded their day one starter. That obviously it's just veteran Joe Flacco, but like, the man can still play. He still gave Jamar Chase enough quarterback play that he was able to catch 10 receptions for over 100 plus yards and a TD on Sunday. So what does this team need to do? I don't think it's anything other than just, it's not Joe Burrow. So you have a runway at this point because Cleveland sucks. At least enough offensively, they're not going to get you the wins. Defensively, they're going to hold teams in check. At least until they just get tired. And the AFC North, I really feel Pittsburgh at this point has a stranglehold on the thing. Even with Lamar coming back. It's not to say that Pittsburgh couldn't rattle up the Ravens. So I think that Pittsburgh's going to walk away with the AFC North this year. Maybe not completely walk away with it, but even by the time Lamar comes back, they're going to have so much catch up to do. I just don't know if they can dig themselves out of this hole. They're 1-5. So you're going to have to go on a complete win streak just to even remotely think of playoffs at this point. It's a sad day for Baltimore Raven fans. Moving along, Seattle Seahawks went into Jacksonville where they controlled that game after last week and that big win on Sunday Night Football against Kansas City, or Monday Night Football, against Kansas City. They looked like a team that was lost, honestly. I watched the game and shit, let's just get right to it. Sam Darnold, he was 16 of 27 for 295 and 2 passing touchdowns. Majority of all that went to Jackson Smith-Nabaja of 8 receptions, 162 and a touchdown. And his touchdown catch that he had, I don't know where the hell Jacksonville defense was on that one. But they sure didn't look like the controlling team that held Kansas City on Monday night. Or at least enough. So I hope with their trip over to London coming up, where they're going to host their final of 2 games that they have in the international series this year, hopefully they can get a win across the ocean. Because, man, Sunday did not look good for this home team. Excuse me. Moving along. Oh, yeah, Seattle wins 20-12, by the way. And the Seahawks. You know what? Let's talk about the Seahawks. They look good in a very competitive NFC West. They're looking good. The run game, I kind of figured they'd maybe not have as much success against Jacksonville. Jacksonville does have a very good run defense, but they offensively in the air, you might have your franchise guy in Sam Darnold. He's playing at enough of a level that you guys should be in the playoffs this year. I would have to think if they continue playing the level they are, with the run game that they do have on most Sundays and the defense that's probably a top 15, even creeping up top 10 at this point, I'd look out. Seahawks, they're probably not going to get talked a lot on, but you just wait. Mid-season, their record will reflect it. Los Angeles Chargers go into Miami where they steal the win on a last-minute field goal to win 29-27. Justin Herbert took control of the game enough where he made enough plays to Ladd McConkey, who caught 7 catches of 100 yards and a touchdown on this day. He set up actually the game-winning field goal position on his late-game heroics where he fought off multiple guys and ran up the sideline before getting double tackled. Their second-year player, Kimani Vidal, went for 124 on the ground after Omarion Hampton was put on IR and will miss 4 games. So Haskins looks like a frickin' pan in the flash of what they said he was going to get the start. Early on, returns on Vidal looked good, and they just kept running with him. He actually also had a receiving touchdown as well in this game. Dallas goes into Carolina where it was a revenge game for Rico Dowell. Last year's Dallas Cowboys running back told them to buckle up for this Sunday, and sure as hell was he correct. This man ran roughshod on his former team for 183 yards on the ground on 30 attempts and 53 yards in the air, most of which was on the touchdown reception that he had on a halfback wheel route. So 30-27 was the final in that game, and it did not disappoint. I caught highlights of the game, portions of it when I was in between other games, but that was a shootout, that game. Actually, I could see that being one of this week's like top games as far as back and forth entertainment, right? New England went into New Orleans where they didn't necessarily upset by any means. Let's just say for what it is. New England is looking like they might have finally put the pieces together. The head coach is the right fit. I wonder why. Vrabel fits the perfect fit of what a Patriot should be, right? The former linebacker for them, now their head coach. He has a young, uprising quarterback at this point who helped them lead to a 25-19 win on Sunday. Drake May went 18 of 26 and 3 touchdowns for over 200 yards on Sunday. His decision-making is what caught my eye more so than anything else. So on multiple plays, I noticed in his passing game how you would do your check-off. Like, he knows where his guys are supposed to be. He knows where his checkoffs are. And he's not running around like a lost puppy dog this year, like where he had to try and force plays and make plays in his rookie season. He looks very comfortable in this Josh McDaniels offense. And I'm not going to say are going to win the AFC East by any means because the Bills are in this division, but they're going to give some competition. This is the Bills' competition when it comes to in-division because they won last week on Sunday Night Football, right? The defense showed up against a high-octane offense in the Bills, and they went to work on New Orleans defense, who they won their first game last week against the Giants. But that defense can only do so much when the offense and the sputtering of Spencer Rattler just looks like shit. Also on that day, Keyshawn Boutte went 5 catches of 93 and 2 touchdowns. Yeah. Now, on to the rest of the games. Most of the afternoon games, Tennessee went into Las Vegas Raiders, where they lost 20-10. Las Vegas comes out with the win. Geno Smith needs to do some better decision-making and limit the turnovers, but they still were able to come away with Ashante Gianti, 75 on the ground, and a rushing touchdown. San Francisco went down to Tampa Bay, where there are a few things in this game. First, I'm going to note Fred Warner has now been listed as out for the season. He's done. He went down in this game with got it right here. He went out for the season with a broken, dislocated ankle. Ouch. Does that sound like it hurt? The pain in his face and the realization when he was being carted off said it all. Also, MK Egbuka, wide receiver, rookie sensation of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, had 2 catches, 23 yards this week. He goes out with a hamstring injury. Now, let's realize hamstring injuries play quite a vital role on any of these players. We've had multiple stars this year, George Kittle being the most notable. He's been on IR for the last 4 weeks. I'm sure his time is coming up on soon. He'll be able to get reactivated, but I've seen hamstring injuries last year that kept Nico Collins out for almost 6 games. So it's optimistic to think a few weeks, but we're probably looking more of the 4-week era, unless just the recovery is that much quicker for this young kid. Now the main story of that game, though. Baker Mayfield, with next to no one left offensively when it comes to playmakers other than just making his own playmakers. He threw to guys from the practice squad they brought up. 4th and 5th receiver are now 1 and 2. Hopefully they get some help back next week, but it didn't matter. Defensively, Tampa Bay showed up, held the rest of that offense in check. They still have Christian McCaffrey. They still have wide receivers on this team that can make plays. Bourne showed that last week with his big performance of over 100 yards, but it wasn't enough. Tampa Bay won 30-19. Baker Mayfield 17-23, 256 and 2 passing touchdowns. He made the runs when he would have to. They had enough of a running game with Sean Tucker and Rachaad White getting each a rushing touchdown on Sunday. Tampa Bay at 5-1 looked like the legitimate threat in the NFC. Because I do not see Baker Mayfield, unless he goes out with injury, knock on wood, I do not see him and his play defaulting at this point. He is literally performing with the equivalent of Tom Brady back in the day and his group collection of misfit wide receivers that none even reached 1,000 yards. And then the next year they went and traded for, this was the 2006 season I'm talking about, by the way. They lost in the AFC title game that year to Indianapolis, but he had no one to throw to. No one. The next year, that's when they got Wes Welker, Randy Moss, Dante Stallworth, and actually gave the man weapons. And what does he do? MVP season. I'm just saying, maybe Mayfield isn't quite obviously Tom Brady, but he's doing a hell of a job filling his shoes in Tampa. He is showing he just grinds and wins games. And Cleveland thought they didn't have a franchise quarterback. Detroit on the Sunday nighter traveled into Kansas City, where a few stories coming out of this game. Kansas City won 30-17. We'll just jump right to that. Patrick Mahomes, big reason for it, passed the ball around a lot. He had 3 passing touchdowns on the day for 257 yards, 1 rushing touchdown, and he won 22 of 30. Now, I feel, this is me, and I'm sure there'll be others that feel as well, Detroit, on certain calls in that game, were getting shafted just as any other team that played against Kansas City last year, and they had the goddamn refs in their pocket. Now, you know what? Whatever. Doesn't matter. Detroit's a divisional opponent. I'll let them take a loss. But I felt they had more control of that game than what the refs were fucking letting them on. And the shit that Kansas City was getting away with, let's not even go there. But you know what? Jump outside of that. Let's just jump to the end of the game. Because this has been a heated thing I've been all over different medias defending Brian Branch. All right? The third-year safety is a former second-round pick. He has had altercations and stuff like that before. He's a little bit of a bad boy. That's why they like him down there. But man, Patty Mahomes, I can respect quarterback. I can respect a lot of things. What I don't respect is your cockiness as you walk towards the player on the final kneel down in that game, and you're all like, buddy, yeah, that's right. But the look on your face, the look on Patrick Mahomes' face at the way he's talking to this other player, yes, he just lost the game. He knows it. It's happening. He acknowledges it. You don't have to rub it in, you selfish son of a bitch. I honestly feel they should nail that son of a bitch with the first fucking fine of the night. And then after reviewing later on video that I came across for the actual altercation, yes, Brian Branch, you're getting a 1-game suspension. You're going to appeal it. You're going to lose. You're going to have to serve it, dude. You don't go and smash the guy. But in his defense, all right, Patty Mahomes first acknowledged the fact of like how he's basically lipping this guy off. Then he tries to shake his hands. He's like, it's all right, man. It's all right. He didn't want to shake your hand. He did it as he held his hand away from you. So what does he do? He still puts his hand on him, trying to pat him on the shoulder. Don't touch the fucking player. You aren't some Jesus guy you're not NFL Jesus. Like, I fucking hate hearing Chris Collinsworth talk about Patrick Mahomes and just having to listen to this shit about Taylor Swift. I hope the Kansas City Chiefs lose the entire rest of their fucking schedule. Because that kind of cockiness is what then turned your fucking wide receiver. So the initial look of him was, oh man, that's not how it should go. He didn't like the way Brian Branch fucking acted towards Patrick Mahomes. So then he lipped him off. So what does Brian Branch do? He goes up into his face and he knocks him one. Shut your fucking mouth if you think that is how we play as professionals. He realized he lost. He realized he got burned all night. Why are you rubbing it in? To that extent, anyway. They want to talk about things being childish and him acting out like that, then set an example, Mahomes. Don't fucking touch the guy. Don't try and say anything to him when he tells you to basically fuck off to begin with. Anyway, that's my rant for that aspect. That has been built up for some time now. Buffalo goes into Atlanta on the first Monday Nighter game of the night, where Bijan Robinson runs roughshod all over this team. He, at 170 yards on the ground, fuck, I love reading these stats, 6 receptions for 68 yards receiving, and 1 rushing touchdown. Atlanta took control of a primetime against what is supposed to be one of the elite teams in the AFC and dropped them to 4-2. Now, because of tiebreaker right now, New England sits atop of the AFC East. Do I think it's going to last? Not necessarily, because I got the Bills pegged as like division winners, AFC winners, the whole shebang this year. But it's looking dicey in Buffalo. I'm quite shocked. I thought that they would have came in and handled business after losing last Sunday's game. But man, I hope they can get the shit figured out on the bye week when they go to Carolina in week 8. And then to finish off the night, Chicago went into Washington, where I pretty near pulled all my hair out, it felt like, as I yelled and screamed at the monitor in what there were moves and plays being called. I just shook my fucking head. I shook my goddamn head. Because again, and this happens in a lot of games, by the way, not just Chicago, not just Kansas City, but there's been some really shitty officiating this year in games. Some really shitty officiating. But it didn't matter because at the end of the day, Chicago's defense came up with the fumble at the end of the game to set up Chicago to just run the ball a few times successfully. I was shocked, actually, that they were able to get down to where they did and then plant Williams exactly where he needed in the center of the field for Jake Moody, who kicked 4 of 5 field goal attempts in this game, one of them being the 30-plus yard game winner at the end of the game to win it 25-24. DeAndre Swift had 108 yards on the ground, 67 in the air, with 55 of them coming on his receiving touchdown. And yeah, Chicago comes away with the win. I gotta wipe that sweat off the eyebrow one more week, and we sit at 3-2, competitive as hell in the NFC North. Few little tidbits and notes here for all y'all. New York Jets wide receiver Garrett Wilson hyperextended his knee in Sunday's loss and is expected to miss multiple weeks. Brian Callahan, Tennessee Titans head coach, has been fired. He is the first head coach to be fired this year at 1-5. Management came out and basically said, look, we're in it for the long haul for a build process to reestablish this franchise, but it's not with Brian. It's not with Mr. Callahan. Because we gave him everything we thought for what was going to be the initial turnaround and everything else after a dismal year last year, but it just isn't enough sometimes. Because if anything, even though it's a new quarterback, rookie quarterback, I get that. There should be some mode of an offense here, but there's nothing. They are as bad as the goddamn Cleveland Browns right now. So, yeah, they basically turfed his ass and named senior offensive assistant Mike. Sorry, just trying to read that last little part. Mike McKay. Yeah, Mike McKay is now the interim head coach of the Tennessee Titans. And our final one of the night, Zadarius Smith retires at the age of 33. After 11 seasons and being a former fourth-round pick, we want to wish the former defensive end linebacker combo a very happy retirement. He did sign with the Philadelphia Eagles at the start of the year off of free agency. He wasn't too sure at the time, but I'm pretty sure after the loss on Thursday night, and this was the funny meme I seen going around, that's why he decided to retire now. So anyway, you know what? That's it. That's all. That's the end of the Bear Down Corner. I'm your host, Sergeant Holio. You can catch us live every Tuesday morning, 6 o'clock General Mountain, 8 o'clock Eastern, anywhere you can listen to your podcast and on YouTube. Be safe, take care, and I will see all of you next week when we talk more football.